You wake up. Before your feet touch the floor, before your eyes fully open, you're already deciding which version of you will show up today. The professional you, composed, competent, unfazed by chaos. The friend you, relaxed, funny, effortlessly cool. The family you, responsible, caring, dependable. The social media you, curated, aspirational, just vulnerable enough to seem real. Carl Jung had a word for this, persona, from the Latin for the masks worn by actors in ancient theater. The face you show the world, the role you play to be accepted, to survive, to succeed. And here's what Jung understood that we're only now beginning to feel in our bones. The mask was always necessary. You need it. Society requires it. You can't function without some version of yourself that fits the situation, that plays the game, that knows how to behave. But something has changed. You're not wearing one mask anymore. You're juggling 8, 10, 12 different versions of yourself, each one demanding maintenance, each one requiring energy, each one threatening to contradict the others if you're not careful. And somewhere, beneath all of this, there's a question you're afraid to ask. If you take off all the masks, what's left? This is the question Jung spent his life exploring. Not to give you an easy answer, not to promise you'll find your true self waiting underneath, but to show you something more unsettling, more profound, and somehow more liberating than any self-help guru would dare admit. The persona isn't your enemy, but the way we live now might be killing the part of you that knows the difference between wearing a mask and becoming one. Let's talk about what's happening to you. Think about your great-grandparents for a moment. They had personas too. The worker persona, the parent persona, the neighbor persona, maybe the church persona. 3, 4, 5 versions of themselves they'd shift between throughout their lives. Exhausting? Sometimes, but manageable. Now, think about your Tuesday. You wake up and check your phone. LinkedIn you, professional, insightful, always learning. Instagram you, adventurous, aesthetic, living your best life. Twitter you, witty, informed, plugged into the discourse. WhatsApp you, different for family, different for work group, different for close friends. You get to work. Professional you activates. Language changes, posture changes. The jokes you make, the opinions you share, the version of your weekend you mention, all carefully calibrated. Lunch with colleagues, a slightly more relaxed version, but still performing, still managing impressions. Evening, dating app you, carefully vulnerable, interesting but not threatening, confident but not arrogant. You've probably A/B tested your photos, your bio, the ratio of humor to depth. Home. Family video call, dutiful child you, or responsible parent you, or stable sibling you. Night, finally alone. And sometimes in that moment, you don't even know which you is the real you anymore. Jung saw this coming. Not the specifics, he couldn't have imagined Instagram or LinkedIn, but he understood the fundamental dynamic. The more complex the social world, the more personas required. The more personas required, the energy spent maintaining them. The more energy spent maintaining them, the less you have left for the question that actually matters. Who are you when no one is watching? But here's where it gets darker. Here's what Jung didn't fully see because he lived before our particular moment in history. We're not just wearing more masks, we're being paid to perfect them. The attention economy has turned your persona into a product. Every like on your post is a small payment for a successful performance. Every follower is a customer buying the version of you you're selling. Every comment validating your persona is a market signal. Yes, this version works. Do more of this. You're not just adapting to social situations anymore. You're optimizing. You're running A/B tests on your own identity. You're learning what performs well and what doesn't.
You're becoming a brand manager for multiple brands that all happen to be named after you. And the cruelest part? It's working. That professional persona on LinkedIn probably has gotten you opportunities. That aspirational persona on Instagram probably has brought you validation. That carefully curated dating profile probably has gotten you matches. The system rewards you for performing well, so you keep performing. Jung called this identification with the persona. The moment when you forget you're wearing a mask. The moment when you start to believe you are the role you're playing. In his time, it looked like the businessman who couldn't separate his identity from his job title, the society woman who couldn't exist outside her social standing, the professor who became his credentials. In our time, it looks like you, scrolling through your own profiles, not quite sure anymore where the performance ends and you begin. And here's the thing Jung understood that should terrify you. Every persona creates a shadow. Think about it. That always professional LinkedIn you, it's suppressing the part of you that's uncertain, confused, still figuring things out. That always positive Instagram you, it's pushing down the sadness, the mundane, the unglamorous reality of most of your days. That confident dating profile you, it's hiding the vulnerability, the insecurity, the part that's just desperately hoping to be seen. All of that rejected material doesn't disappear. Jung knew this. It accumulates, it grows, it becomes what he called the shadow. Everything you can't admit about yourself, everything that doesn't fit the personas you're maintaining. And the more perfect your personas, the more dangerous your shadow becomes.
You feel it, don't you? That exhaustion that goes deeper than lack of sleep. That sense of being spread too thin across too many versions of yourself. That moment when you catch your reflection and you're not quite sure which you is looking back. The professional you who's supposed to have it all together, but inside you're barely holding on. The social you who's supposed to be having fun, but inside you're counting the minutes until you can leave. The authentic you who's supposed to be vulnerable and real, but even that feels like another performance. Jung had a term for what happens when the persona takes over completely: identification. You don't just wear the mask, you become it. You forget there's anything underneath, and in that forgetting, something essential gets lost. The burnout epidemic? That's not just about overwork, it's about overperformance. It's about maintaining too many personas without any center to return to. You're not just tired, you're existentially exhausted from being multiple people who can't quite cohere into anything that feels real. The anxiety epidemic? That's not just about uncertainty, it's about the terror of being found out, of having your personas contradict each other, of someone seeing the LinkedIn you and the Instagram you and the real life you and noticing they don't quite match. The depression epidemic? That's not just about sadness. It's about the growing suspicion that none of this is real, that you've performed so well for so long that you've lost touch with whatever might have been genuine underneath. And here's where the culture offers you a solution. Here's where the self-help industry, the wellness gurus, the authenticity coaches all come in with their answer. Be yourself. Find your true self. Get rid of the masks. Be authentic. And you try. God, you try. You start posting more real content. You talk about your struggles. You share your vulnerabilities. You perform authenticity. Wait, perform authenticity? Yeah, you're doing it right now, aren't you? This is the trap Jung would have recognized immediately. Authenticity has become another persona, maybe the most dangerous one. Think about it. The influencer who built a brand on keeping it real. The leader who's celebrated for being vulnerable.
The friend who's always just being honest in a way that somehow always makes them look good. Authentic you is just another version of you, another mask, except this one is more insidious because it claims not to be a mask at all. You've probably seen it, the Instagram post with the carefully composed, messy photo. The LinkedIn story about failure that's really a humble brag about resilience. The therapy speak vulnerability that's really a performance of emotional intelligence. The here's me being real that's been edited, filtered, and optimized for engagement. Even your private moments of being yourself. Are you sure? Or are you performing authenticity for an imagined audience that includes, most of all, yourself? Jung would ask you a question that might make you uncomfortable. What if there is no true self waiting to be discovered underneath all the masks? What if you are the masks? Not in a nihilistic way, not in a way that means nothing matters, but in a way that's more strange, more unsettling, and ultimately more honest than any authenticity guru would tell you. You're not a fixed essence wearing different costumes. You're a process. You're the ongoing navigation between different roles, different contexts, different demands. You're the space where all these personas meet, conflict, coexist, and somehow keep going. Jung called this individuation, not finding yourself, not becoming your true self, but becoming conscious of all the parts of yourself, including the parts you'd rather not see. The persona isn't the problem. The shadow isn't the enemy. The problem is unconsciousness. The enemy is believing any single version of you is the complete truth. So, what did Jung actually say to do about this? Not what you'd expect. Not what would sell well on a podcast or fit on a motivational poster. He said, recognize that you're playing roles, consciously, without apology, without the delusion that you could ever stop. The professional you at work, that's real. It's a real part of you operating in a real context. The relaxed you with friends, that's real too. It's another real part of you in another real context. The vulnerable you with a partner, real. The private you alone at 3 a.m., also real. None of them is the complete you. All of them are partial truths. And that's not a problem to solve. That's the human condition to accept. The freedom doesn't come from finding which one is really you. The freedom comes from knowing you're the one choosing which mask to wear and when, from recognizing the game while you're playing it. But, and this is where Jung gets really interesting, you also have to face the shadow. Remember everything you pushed down to maintain those perfect personas? The anger behind the always pleasant face, the chaos behind the always organized professional, the neediness behind the always independent persona, the pettiness behind the always mature exterior. That's still there. Jung says it's always there. And the more you try to be perfectly authentic, perfectly yourself, perfectly integrated, the more material you're probably sending to the shadow. Integration doesn't mean becoming one unified self. It means being conscious of the multiplicity. It means dialoguing with the parts of you that don't fit any of your personas. It means admitting that you're not just the hero of your own story. You're also the villain, the fool, the coward, the person you'd judge if you saw them in someone else. And you? Have you ever caught yourself performing authenticity? Have you ever noticed the moment when even being real started to feel like another role? Leave in the comments what persona you find hardest to maintain or hardest to let go of. This isn't comfortable. Jung never promised comfort. He promised consciousness. And consciousness means seeing yourself clearly, all of it, not just the parts that fit your preferred narrative.
So, where does this leave you? Still juggling multiple personas, still showing up differently in different contexts, still maintaining a professional face at work and a relaxed face with friends and a carefully curated face online. But maybe now with a small difference. Maybe now with a glimmer of awareness that you're doing it, that you're the one wearing the masks, not the masks wearing you. You'll still get exhausted. The modern world demands multiple personas, and that's not changing. The attention economy will keep rewarding you for optimizing your performances. The social pressure to be consistent, to be authentic, to have a coherent identity, that's not going away. But maybe you can catch yourself. In that moment before you post, you might notice which version of me is performing right now. In that meeting where you're code switching, you might recognize, I'm choosing this mask. I'm not trapped in it. In that moment of exhaustion from being too many people, you might understand this is the cost of consciousness in a complex world, not evidence that I'm broken. Jung didn't offer liberation. He offered something more modest and more honest. He offered the possibility of not being completely fooled by yourself, of recognizing your own performance while you're giving it, of wearing your masks lightly enough that you can still feel your face underneath. Is that enough? Is consciousness without resolution, awareness without solution, recognition without rescue, is that enough? Maybe it has to be, because the alternative is either complete identification with your personas, believing you are the role you play, or complete rejection of them, trying to find some authentic self that doesn't exist. Jung walked a third path, not transcending the personas, not perfecting them, just seeing them clearly, honestly, without the comfortable delusion that any single one of them is the complete truth about who you are.